The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 220. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal lady on. She is a writer, and she is from East Brunswick, New Jersey, and I'm just excited to have her on and share her story. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Joy Stoffers. Joy, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to our listeners.
Sure. Hi, Sheena. So I was raised at East Brunswick, so it's central New Jersey in the U.S., by a Taiwanese mother and a Caucasian father. So a bit of a mixed background growing up, and I feel like that changed my lens of viewing the world. And I always wanted to be a writer from a young age, but I did a master's in England to kind of test that out for creative writing. And during that time, I managed to get my debut novel published by an indie publisher called Harken Media. And so it's called Whasian. And I deal with identity issues that are very prevalent in the States, but not talked about super overtly.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Joy, what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Definitely Eleanor Roosevelt. A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water.
I love that. That's also, one of my favorites because, a lot of us think when we're in situations where it's like we don't think we can get out of it, we can. It's kind of like the universe testing our strength and our confidence and how much we can get up and keep on going. So, this quote is perfect because, women have to realize they're stronger than they think. So love this quote. Thanks for sharing that. And in your own words, how would you define self-confidence?
I think that for me, self-confidence means believing yourself. And by claiming self-made strength, I think that you can find success and that you define that success.
Awesome. And I love that you said claiming self-made strength because, a lot of people think they're born with confidence. Not realizing, confidence can be, practice every single day, whether it's reading a book, telling yourself, you're beautiful, loving yourself. These things we can create, in an instant when we want to, and we can be strong, when we start believing in ourselves and start going out there and doing the things that we want. So, I really love that definition that you mentioned. And, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I think that, and I think this ties back to my kind of identity confusion growing up. I didn't know what my place was, what it should be, and therefore I was plagued by doubts. And so when you're constantly questioning yourself, you don't really commit fully to anything, and that leads to a tendency of running away from problems instead of not necessarily confronting, but at least facing them.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that because, as women, we feel like, we can't solve the problem sometimes and we feel like we don't trust ourselves enough to do it. Mm-hmm. So we tend to run away or maybe blame other people. And, we have to realize we are, a lot, better than we think, right? We can solve these problems. We can face them, even if it's scary because it can be scary sometimes. And, what was that point in your life when you realized, you are able to do that? You can face your problems. You can commit to stuff. You don't have to have that doubt inside of you.
Yeah, I think I went through a particularly difficult time my sophomore year in college. Just a lot of family issues. And I think that was my real identity crisis moment. And I finally thought to myself, well, if you don't try to reconcile your background now, you're not going to get closer to beginning the process of not necessarily self-actualization, but just intrinsic growth in general.
Thanks for sharing that. And, because of that realization, what's your life been like now?
I mean, of course, nothing and no one is perfect. And I think my recognizing that helps me make improvements on a daily basis, really. Because I think I really put more focus on figuring out what I can do to create change for myself. And I know what's best for me. And I'm not going to question that feeling that comes within. And of course, I want to hear the advice of others. And I don't want to be prideful, but I do value authenticity and self-evident truths.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And I think, we tend to not trust ourselves, right? Especially when we know if something's wrong, we still question it thinking, well, maybe I'm not right on this one. We have to realize our feelings is kind of giving us signs, whether it's from the universe or whoever you believe in, that, maybe that's not the path you're going through. And like you said, you can listen to other people's advice, but in the end, it's your choice to listen to who you want to listen, right? Because there's a lot of people out there who could be not as authentic as you see them. And you can see that, right? Sometimes when you see them talking, or just the language and the energy. So I'm glad you're able to see that and know you can recognize what you believe is your truth and how you can live authentically. And that's probably like the greatest feeling, just to live your authentic self. And Joy, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey of self-confidence. What would be that one tip you would give to her?
I'd say set aside time for yourself. Get to know yourself and think about what fulfills and empowers you. And pursue what makes you at least feel content. Because everyone should pursue happiness. It's not guaranteed, but we should all pursue it.
Love it. And I like, your first tip, which is to set aside time for yourself. I think, living in a busy world, we forget to have time for ourselves. We're always on the go, thinking about, whether it's our parents or sisters or husbands, kids. We just have to, maybe whether it's 15 to 20 minutes, just set aside, have some me time, whether it's to read a book, watch some TV. It's good for the soul. So yeah. I really love that first tip that you mentioned. And if our listeners wanted to connect with you, get to know a little bit more about what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah, so I've got a website, www.joyhuangstoffers.com. So my second middle name is Huang, and I've got Facebook as well, and you can all get to that from my website. And I also am blog coordinator for an organization called the Mixed Remix Festival, that basically celebrates the mixed experience in all forms. And that's www.mixedremix.org.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you wanted to connect with Joy, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Joy's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else we talked about. And I just really want to thank Joy for taking the time to share her story with us. So Joy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheena, for having me.
It was an honor to have you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Want to learn how you can use podcasting to market your business? Download your free report by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.